One of the most important instructional strategies that we can implement within our ministries revolves around the way that we communicate with others. In thinking about communication, we need to make sure that we utilize positive behavioral language. There are two primary areas of focus to positive behavioral language that are especially important. The first being a focus on replacement language when tackling problem behaviors. When a problem behavior arises, the tendency is to focus on that behavior when we communicate with individuals. No running, stop hitting, don't talk out of turn. Instead, we need to identify the replacement behavior. What behavior do we want to see? And then frame our wording by what we want the person to do, not what we want them not to do. So no running turns into walk please, stop hitting becomes hands to self, and don't talk out of turn sounds like raise your hand. This takes a slight shift in our mindset and the way we deliver direction, but it's so important to frame things this way for our members with disabilities for a couple of reasons. First, it lets the individual know what to do. Sometimes that's all it is. An individual might be running from one activity to the next because that's all they know. And saying no running may be confusing because, okay, but what's the alternative? This way, we're clearly providing the replacement behavior and letting the person know what to do. Oh, walk, okay. Second, it lessens the opportunity to be devious. I'm in my 30s, but if you tell me not to push the red button, well, guess what I'm gonna do? Framing things in the positive doesn't provide that clear option to be devious. Lastly, no can sometimes be a trigger word for people with disabilities. Self-determination is very important for individuals with disabilities, something we'll talk about later, as oftentimes things are decided for them. That no may be something that they hear often and may trigger negative feelings. The second piece to positive behavioral language that we need to focus on is simply the utilization of positive reinforcement. In the field of education, studies have repeatedly shown that the most successful teachers utilize at least a 4-to-1 praise model. This means that they provide at least 4 pieces of positive reinforcement, 4 praises to an individual, before providing that individual with any one correction. This allows for a very positive environment where you have continued opportunities to build rapport with individuals in your ministry. And studies talk about it being at least a 4-to-1 praise model. Not only that, but we need to be very specific about our praise as well. This requires another small shift in our thinking, but what research shows us is that we need to be more specific than our usual good job or nice work, because it's good job with what? Nice work with what? Again, being very specific with our praise allows the individual to know exactly what behavior you're looking for. Hey, great job raising your hand. Nice work sharing your toy with Billy. This allows the individual to recognize the desired behavior and be positively reinforced for it, which increases the likelihood of that behavior happening again. Now, sometimes it can be tough to find a way to get those 4 praises in before doling out a correction. There can be those really challenging days where an individual might be pushing the envelope a bit. It happens. In these cases, we need to focus on celebrating small successes. Celebrating small successes is big in communication, as it allows you to build a positive rapport with someone who may not always get to hear praise. If you have a child in your Sunday school classroom who is always on the move, really struggles with sitting still, and they have to stop and sit for a quick second to tie their shoe, then boom, it's, hey, great job sitting down. I really appreciate how calm you are right now. If there's a child who's using a really loud voice, maybe screaming, but then finally lowers his voice for a quick second, or even just stops screaming to take a breath, thank you so much for using a quiet voice. Great job following directions. A great benefit of positive reinforcement and the 4-to-1 praise model is that it's not just for people with disabilities. It's for everybody. And it's also a great way that we can provide correction through using praise instead of calling an individual out. This is something called the praise around. Going back to the Sunday school example, if you have a child in your classroom who is just not doing what he's supposed to be doing, maybe talking to his neighbor while you're trying to teach a lesson, then what you can do is provide praise to the people around him. Hit the 4-to-1 praise model with the people sitting to his right and to his left, so he knows what the target behavior is supposed to be. So instead of calling little Johnny out for talking, I'm praising the people around him. Hey Tiffany, thank you so much for using your listening ears right now. Hey Joey, great job having a quiet voice while I'm speaking. I'm not singling Johnny out at all, right? But Johnny's hearing me provide praises for others, and I'm being specific with my praise so he knows exactly what I'm looking for. And that increases the chances of Johnny following suit. The use of positive reinforcement applies to both large groups and individual settings. In large group instruction, you can utilize a token economy, such as Bible bucks in a ministry setting, to provide tangible reinforcement for exhibiting positive behavior. Some people may need more specific attention when it comes to positive reinforcement, however, and that's where an individual token economy comes into play. One in particular that we recommend is something called a penny board. Penny boards are super easy to create on your own. All you really need is a piece of cardboard, 5 pennies, and some Velcro strips, and you just put the Velcro strips on the cardboard and then on each of the 5 pennies. You use a penny board when you're working one-on-one with an individual. And when you notice that individual exhibiting the positive behavior that you want to see, then you'd be very specific and you'd say something like, "Hey, you know what? Thank you so much for sitting in your chair calmly. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna put a penny on right now." And then you add a penny to the penny board. Once you see them doing something else, then it's, "Hey, great job sharing your toy with Julie. Here's a penny on." Then you keep going until you hit all 5 pennies. And once you hit those 5 pennies, the individual earns an activity or item that they desire. And this process makes things very visual too. It's important to note that, sticking with the ideals of positive reinforcement and positive behavioral language, that we always put pennies on and we never take a penny away. You never take pennies away. If there is negative behavior that occurs, then shoot. Momentary setback that you can coach in the moment, but with the penny board, you'll be looking for that next sign of positive behavior. And once you see it, you call attention to it and you put that penny on. These are just some of the many important communication strategies that we can use in our ministries when ministering to people with disabilities.